Well, we're now all caught up with the franchise in the correct order. So after the tremendously underrated Ernest Scared Stupid, a 5th and 6th installment were both in the works to be shot back to back. One idea previously was called Ernest and the Voodoo Curse, which would have parodied Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, featuring voodoo potions with Ernest pretending to be a zombie to evade the undead, before he even falls in love with a zombie who wants nothing to do with him. Why didn't that get made? That sounds great, know what I mean? And although that one didn't come to fruition, the one we're reviewing today decided to keep the theme of parodying the great Indiana Jones anyway. Unfortunately, this is where many consider the franchise to decline. It debuted at number 16 at the box office and ended up grossing $1.4 million, becoming the lowest of the entire Ernest series. And due to this flop, Ernest Rides Again was the final movie to be released in cinemas. It was the first film to not include Chuck and Bobby. They got rid of Rimshot, the bastards, and a lot of people consider it to be the beginning of the end of the saga.
What?
He plays a janitor at a university and discovers an ancient relic on a construction site nearby, showing it to his history professor friend Abner, played by Ron James. Abner is convinced that the crown jewels of England were actually stolen during the Revolutionary War and are now hidden inside a long-lost cannon somewhere, leading to him and Ernest joining forces to hunt the jewels down.
Me?
I do see people's issues pretty quickly. I mean, after the greatest theme song of all time. Ernest B. Worrell. He does his usual impressions, but they're just random and meaningless. It's like the writers just saw the previous films and thought, hey, Ernest does voices. He ends up doing his thing and destroying this entire construction site, but I don't know, it just feels paler in comparison to the previous films. Mainly because it's almost entirely a carbon copy of the opening to Ernest Goes to Jail. Just swap out the filing cabinets for buzzsaws, which somehow go up his arse and he just flies up like a cartoon. But at least he's aware.
Ernest, are you dead? Oh, I guess I would be if I weren't just that close to being an actual cartoon.
Well, he admits it.
And he gets nailed in the head but somehow always survives. Yeah, the man still got it. He also seems to still have his electric powers from jail as well. Yeah, Electro Worrell is still active, folks. Don't worry, you and your families are in safe hands. Although, it does the unthinkable.
From the diamond necklace which surrounds Cleopatra's crystal skull.
Yes! It inspired Indiana Jones 4! Although he returns to the site later and wrecks it all over again. Okay, that is hilarious. Every time these poor guys go out to lunch, they come back and all of their hard work is completely destroyed.
I'm afraid so, sir.
For the first 20 minutes or so, it doesn't even feel like Ernest's movie. Abner is progressing the story and it's all about his journey, while Ernest just kind of does things in the background, like eating a sandwich and drinking acid. There are times when Abner is spewing exposition and Ernest is just doing random shit that doesn't actually connect to anything. But it is kind of entertaining. You don't even realize you're being forced exposition because you're focusing on Ernest. It's hit and miss. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm genuinely surprised more people don't like this one, because in a way it does things better than some of its predecessors. In the other films, for the most part, Ernest was alongside other batshit insane characters, which isn't nearly as fun. Having Ernest be Ernest and be insane, and then putting him with people like Chuck and Bobby who are equally dumb and insane, it takes away the impact of the joke. But here, Abner is completely 100% straight-faced. Now you could argue that Santa Claus and the girl were serious, but in that one, Ernest didn't really wreck a lot of stuff. And Ernest is barely even in that film. In this one, not only does he practically ruin Abner's entire life, but the whole film is them together, almost on this road trip adventure. Abner's completely serious reactions and complete disdain for Ernest throughout this whole film produces some of my favorite moments of the entire series.
I don't know him. He followed me here. He did? So how is it? I'm on a wild goose chase with a refugee from Sesame Street! Hey, no fair! You hit Ernest!
Let's get to the cannon.
Let the truck out of control!
Welcome to my world.
Let's be sensible!
No, let's stay alive.
You need a CAT scan, Ernest! Don't! Please, look, consider the ramifications!
We don't have any ramifications. All we have is this cannon.
The jewels! You'll destroy the jewels!
Goliath must speak.
Most of the time, they just bicker like a married couple.
Let's move. Come on, let's go, let's go.
I have to let it warm up first.
Oh,
Next time you see me, just don't speak or wave or say anything like, "Hey, Dr. Mellon, look what I found," okay? Don't slam it. You slammed it. Aikido Warriors, it's expensive. How can you say that was a hop? How can I hop in a 5-ton cannon with my underwear and a wedgie?
I told you to scooch and you hop. This is a scooch. This is a hop.
A lot of the time, I'm fully convinced they just put the actors on set and ask them to do their thing. A lot of it looks improvised, but the chemistry is so good you can't really tell. As for Ernest himself, I think the years of his crazy adventures have really gotten to him.
Oh, come now, don't tell me we've lost the bloody map. Oh, no, sir.
He seems to have schizophrenia. He's not even doing any impressions or comedy bits anymore. He just talks to himself randomly.
Talking to yourself is not a sign of mental stability.
Honestly, he still has it and has some brilliantly funny lines.
Oh, those irregulars must have left in an awful hurry.
I was a regular once.
I left my detector.
Me too.
But it was a 10-co.
Mine was an 11-co. There might be bugs in here. Or vampires. Or a dentist. It's me, Ernest. I'm one of the new boys on the hood. Starboard. Leeward. Edward. Anybody. Like that Farmer John guy, lending us his tractor.
And why is he following us?
Oh, exercise, I suppose. Oh, no. Stopped by apple maggots again. You can't reason with the Mexican army. We don't even speak Bulgarian.
He who wears the crown shall be king.
Oh, no. I don't take well the responsibility. And besides, I'd have to learn the language.
For a dumb Ernest film, this does actually have a lot of heart and a brilliant relationship. Of course, Ernest is the only one who believes in Abner and his theory, and it really makes his day. Their friendship is actually really sweet and wholesome. But you know, Abner's got to ruin the moment.
We're gonna tie one on.
Tear one loose.
Rip one off.
Buckle onto some antlers.
Yes.
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 No. I have to teach a class.
The film has a whole lot of heart and charm as Ernest motivates Abner to go out of his comfort zone and be more daring, building up his courage. Of course, they always have to have the scene that's in almost every Ernest movie ever. He screws everything up so Abner snaps at him and yells at him to get out of his life. The thing is, Varney is such a gem and such a tremendous talent that this scene always works. It doesn't matter if they recycle this over and over again, it always works no matter what. Then he finds the jewels and takes 5 months to think of calling Abner to come back. Abner defends Ernest against his wife and realizes what he's done just 5 minutes later and rushes back off to reconcile with him. Only after, for some reason, turning into Elvis and making out with his wife.
Clear enough for you now, baby? Yeah.
Weird. In fact, Abner really does go through an arc. He learns to stand up for himself. I do think this film is actually a lot better written than people give it credit for. And it ends with their friendship being as wholesome as ever, and honestly, that's the selling point of this film for me. Chuck and Bobby are replaced by these two guys, and other than one poor attempt at doing a Chuck and Bobby impression, they actually are highly entertaining. They end up being Abner's wife's bitch. Seriously, that is Abner's wife. How the hell did he manage that?
This is ridiculous.
And she spends most of the time being driven around trying to hunt down Abner and Ernest. They end up finding out about the jewels and trying to get them for themselves, and although they don't really add much to the story, they're so entertaining that they kind of work as a fun little side plot. They're hilarious.
I'm going to kill somebody.
We sell some really nice guns, too.
And bullets, lots of bullets.
Lots of bullets, yeah.
There's also this guy in London who's trying to get the jewels to return them to England and always has James Bond music for some reason. He also always walks around sucking on a lollipop like a supervillain. Ah, yes, Mr. Bond. I was expecting. I have kidnapped your wife and she only has 30 minutes before she's completely decapitated. Yes. You better be scared. I do love how the artifacts they find are barely even buried at all. They're just a few centimeters under the dirt. It actually is a really charming and magical moment when Ernest finds the cannon, but he doesn't even notice it at first. Yeah, this is me trying to find something in the fridge for my missus. But the businessmen from the university go from simply wanting the jewels to becoming cold-blooded murderers. They literally run him over, and he survives. Then they try to shoot him. Jesus Christ! But these guys are also the worst aim ever. They make the stormtroopers from Star Wars look like Deadshot.
There they are. Now you can shoot them.
You asked them to shoot earlier. It's just they kept missing. He even pretends to be a chair to avoid them. And of course his characters get him out of this. How does he keep getting away with it? And how come he can fight when he's in drag, but not when he's his normal self? He even survives being hit by a truck. He must be Spider-Man, because not only does he survive, but he hangs onto the side. And this movie has a real big problem with Southerners.
It is a complete mystery to me how you can even stand to be in the same room with that inane redneck.
It's a good thing the bad guys have unlimited ammo, and this truck is still going without a driver. And it seems to be the longest, straightest road in the fucking world, and apparently the most uneven as it rolls in one direction and then rolls straight back. It really is a cool sight seeing Ernest riding the cannon throughout the countryside. Then he destroys a party and a mime can't even warn anyone. It's so ridiculous, I love it. How does the cream from the pie disappear? And how is Abner catching up with the cannon so easily on foot but then struggles when he's on the go-kart?
I don't have to remind you what happens if the hat is on the wrong cat.
No, sir, you don't. Bandish over and out. England will have a new king.
Yeah, I wish. There is actually quite a tense scene where they're stuck on the cannon teetering on a cliff. It actually does have some suspense. Of course, it's not that easy. The crown gets stuck on his head, so we do get a pretty funny montage of them trying to remove it before he uses the operating table to take them all out. He even hides inside a mummy's coffin and spikes himself, but somehow doesn't die, as well as taking an arrow to the foot and still coming out of it unscathed. I just love how he doesn't even think to just go and grab Ernest, beat him up, and get the crown. Instead, it's bazooka everything in sight. Definitely America. Seriously, he turns into Jeffrey Dahmer. What the hell is this? The friendship between Ernest and Abner is really sweet, and the adventure is magical. Yes, it's just as ridiculous as always, because, I mean, it's Ernest, it has to be. It's hilarious and has my favourite non-Ernest character in the series. Honestly, it's an underrated film with a lot of heart that you should definitely check out. Fucking plane.